We're going to be talking about tier lists in Final Fantasy XIV PvP in this video, and so this has been a question that has been asked a heck of a lot, and so we're doing this. As always, this comes with the huge, flashing disclaimer of play what you want to play, and don't feel like you need to do anything that you don't want to conform to a particular meta or style of gameplay. Doing this type of video is bound to get a lot of comments of a very spicy nature, but between my own personal experiences of getting to just about diamond, just at like 1 star away, which drives me crazy, and then talking to many friends of mine, there is a pretty clear difference in power right now between the jobs, and I don't think saying clear is quite stating it enough. There's a massive difference. Yeah, a lot of this honestly is because of crowd control effects and how strong they are. First up is going to be broken, busted, mind-blowing tier, because I don't think calling S or S plus rank does it justice, and this is going to 2 very specific jobs, specifically white mage and warrior. Good god, if these 2 are on the enemy team, you're in for a rough time if they know what they're doing. Talking about warrior first, warrior gets an area of effect stun gap closer that can easily assist in locking down an enemy team at the worst possible time for them when their health is low, and causing them to be unable to restore life and get wiped. Get wiped, scrub. This sort of stun is extremely, and I mean extremely strong. AoE stun's very, very good, and it's on a about 15-second cooldown timer. The rest of Warrior's kit is also strong, but primal rend on its own is absolutely bonkers, including factors like the guard removing ultimate, solid self-sustain, and the rest, the ability to drag players. Yeah, Warrior is number 1. Next up is White Mage, which is very similar idea to Warrior, but will also annihilate the enemy team with damage during their stun. Say the enemy team is half health or so, use the White Mage ultimate and then stun them and deal insane amount of damage. Follow up with Afflatus to do even more damage to them when they're stunned, and if they somehow survive with your team also going in on them, they're probably going to be panic spamming their self-sustain. If you combo Warrior and White Mage, that is something that almost no team can handle when they're really timing things right. This combo absolutely flattens teams, and I mean super duper massive backside crushing, like flattened. Next up is the exceptionally busted tier, which isn't quite as mind-blowing as the White Mage Warrior, but will still absolutely ruin your day. First up is Samurai. That is just, how to say it, it just has so much in its kit that it's really overwhelming. Many dashes, tons of crowd control, it can self-sustain, like it can purify like crowd control effects off of itself and stuff. And to be frank, the shining star of the kit, above and beyond all that, is a limit break that can very, very, if I emphasized it enough, very easily wipe the enemy team off of the point when timed well. If a samurai is standing on point next to your team in overtime and you're in any elo above bronze, it's probably game over. Except it's ninja that when piloted properly, and that's I guess the trick, is like a very badly played ninja will honestly not be impressive, but I'm talking about a well played ninja that will absolutely decimate the enemy team with a limit break that is honestly extremely bursty. The ninja has very high spike potential, and it snowballs like insane. Your team is low and a ninja's nearby, it is gonna be a wipe. And why I'm putting this near the samurai is the samurai is a little bit more rigid, but the ninja I found when they're piloted properly makes that like ability to wipe the team a lot more flexible, like they can jump around. Finally, to wrap up this tier is, yes, yet again, another melee DPS. This time it is the Dragoon, and it's very similar in idea to the samurai, where its limit break makes teams clumping up on the objective basically actively throw the game at that point when they do that. It's also very powerful in sustained combat and can stay glued to targets. I've tried it myself, it's been very fun, and it can take significant amounts of punishment. Oh my god, it's so tanky. It has built-in sustain, it has incoming damage reduction by literally 50% on its horrific roar, which is like, whoa. I'd say it's probably at a baseline level stronger than even the ninja, but I've seen some disgusting ninjas, but rest assured, Dragoon deserves its spot. It definitely does. Now that we have those other 3 nightmare fuel inducing jobs out of the way, which yes, if you're expecting high ranked PvP is probably the list of those 5. Now we have those out of the way, we are going to be talking about the A tier. Now, the first one is going to be Bard, and depending on the team that you're on, Bard can be stunningly broken. I know many will disagree, but the Bard is basically for their teammates, basically they're simping for their teammates, and with the abilities that we just listed, I'm pretty sure you can tell why. And when we talk about ultimates like the Dragoons, the White Mages, the Samurais, and if you have the ability to let them limit break more often, then that alone is wild. Not even talking about the damage amp there, because to be frank, some of these ultimates don't even need more damage. Also, the bard brings this like ranged, very accessible silence, which is terrifying when timed right. Silencing a target at low health, adding onto the chain of stuns with white mage and warrior. Actually, I didn't even mention white mage can also polymorph a single target too. I should know this because I've played so much White Mage. Basically, you get another very flexible silence on Bard that can chain even further, and basically it's adding onto the chain stunts of White Mage, Warrior. It's disgusting. In my opinion, I think Bard is massively underrated. Basically, you have something that simps for the rest of your team and makes the stun chain longer. It's beautiful. Next up is Summoner that has a decent bit of crowd control through its abilities, which makes it an interesting to pilot class, but very squishy, so very risky. But sadly, it has no stuns or silences, so it can't directly completely mess up someone, but it makes up for that with a massively strong ultimate that can ruin clumped teams. In a blunt way, it's a worse Dragoon, sort of, in my mind. Still strong though, not as durable, not as high sustained damage, reliant on casts, and you know cast times are in PvP. The same idea behind the limit break though. Very powerful burst. Except as the Machinist, which has a very solid pinch ultimate. But the real reason that it's kind of just at the bottom of A tier is because outside of that, it does have a little bit of crowd control, but its sustained damage is not all that great. The limit break takes a long time to build up, and when you do have it, I do want to say, you can take down a low health priority target and make the round of 5 versus 4 extremely easy, and that's why the Machinist is definitely still an A tier. 5 versus 4, if you are not going to win that, your team is really bad. Other bursts are available through Wildfire, and Chainsaw is nice too. It's definitely not weak. Is it as insane as Samurai? Not quite. I'm going to be very emboldened and put Red Mage at the bottom of A tier. Actually, this is going to go against what others have advised me to say or do or think, but Red Mages, I've seen some to be really awful, like really not good, but others I've seen be absolutely fantastic and offer a ton to the party, leaving me impressed. I'm feeling that this is more of a skill issue than a job and skill kit issue, because like I see Frazzle and it's just a better Scholar Mummify, reducing healing by 20% and increasing the damage taken. That is strong. That's wild. Southern Cross is also great in team fights. They have a silence or resolution for 3 seconds, which, like mentioned with the Bard, is fierce and very dangerous when timed correctly. Now, I don't personally think Red Mage is bad. People are saying it is, but I don't think so. It also has so much versatility and ability to fill in the cracks in team composition, so much potential for skill to be shown. I think it's very hard to pilot, but I don't feel right putting it lower. No, I cannot do that on my channel because I don't believe it. So against all advice and Discord conversations I've had, A tier for Red Mage, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. My comments will tell me I'm stupid and should put it in like C tier, but I just don't see it myself. Now we're talking about B tier, and B tier is going to start off with a Scholar. Scholar's actually been really underrated in my opinion, and Scholar's strength is really in absolutely tilting engagements with a ton of status effects. I think it is, however, significantly weaker than White Mage in its current state. Obviously it's weaker than that stun, but the damage over time effect, however, is strong, and when spread across the enemy team certainly does stack up damage wise. It's very easy to actually top the charts as a Scholar, very easily. The limit break is also supremely high sustain, like probably the strongest healer limit break for healing in the game. It just makes your party very durable. Mummify also feels very kind of cruel and mean to use because you watch them just flap around struggling to sustain themselves in a team fight. It's also AoE. That's kind of nuts. The fact that his area of effect is actually kind of mean too. I definitely think that Scholar has a lot of potential, but right now the stun silence method is just so strong that status effects like that don't really shine. I lower the amount of healing that they can do when I can literally just say silence and stun. Next up is Ast, and the heals I've largely found to be very in this game in general for all of the healers, but they feel fine. The Ast also does bring a lot of buffs, which, as we talked about with the Bard, are significant. The problem is when you compare it to the White Mage, it just isn't there in terms of its ability to capture like knockouts or like reduce healing, and its ultimate is something that I've seen people run away from for a few seconds and then run back when it wears off. I haven't been blown away with Ast. with white mage, I have been absolutely blown away, so much that I was dead and respawned. It's Sage's turn, and I love how the Sage feels in place. Do not get me wrong, it is snappy, it's fun, it's exciting. It is definitely not a healer though. Well, it is a healer. I'm torn. I'll talk about that in a second. But I've had much less success on Sage in general than I wanted to. That's why it's obviously in the spot it is. The heal it puts out isn't very strong, even if it is reliable. The ability to zip around the field with Icarus initially felt nice until I realized in solo queue I can't control or communicate really to rely on teammates, not in an effective, meaningful way. I feel very much the same way that I did with Mercy on Overwatch. Okay, I have a mobility ability, and it's totally reliant on my team jumping into the enemy team, but it doesn't feel great. But moving on, Numa feels solid. The ult, however, I found very hit or miss. Most team comps, like I mentioned before, are Samurai, Dragoon, Warrior, White Mage. Okay, I'm messing up with the White Mage hitting Glare. The rest are absolutely trashing my team, and usually they have some other thing slotted in for the 5th slot. It usually doesn't matter, but those 4 core. But a dome that reflects projectiles is kind of a meme with that comp, as you can obviously tell. And the damage, when they are in there, is nice, but it never ever seems to be enough to deter them. Now, would I call Sage a healer? Yeah, people have said that it isn't really, and I feel that that's not really true or fair, where I also wouldn't really even say that any of the other healers have so much more healing outside of their ultimate, where Scholar is, to be blunt, obviously King. Scholar's ultimate is the best sustain. It makes your team the most durable of any of them. But I do think, like, I've definitely gone more out of Cardia just through pure sustain over long-term engagement than Cure 2, honestly. I know that it has saved me popping my, like, little health potion things. I can't even remember the name of the skill. I've gone way more out of that than Cure 2, honestly, and Eucrasia is definitely a better, more reliable, easier to get out barrier than Adlo, in my opinion. Although, obviously, Adlo can be spread across the entire party, but typically you're going to want to spread the buff. I'm getting too deep for this video. It's going to be 10 hours long if I keep going. For C tier, I'm putting Gunbreaker, Dark Knight here. These two can both do things, but at the same time, queuing in as these as your tank slot means that you're Gunbreaker or Dark Knight against probably a warrior, and you're not a warrior, which will probably make you hate yourself in plat. Black Mage is here, and for every time I think a Black Mage might do something wild with its impressive animation, it largely results in a nothing burger as my Dragoon and Samurai jump on it and step on its hat and stomp on it into oblivion. I don't think this is what was in mind when said step on me please. These Black Mages just have not been doing good in plat. It's not any ones that I've seen so far. Next up is D tier, and I put Paladin here rather than F tier because honestly I find Paladin extremely easy to ignore. If I have a warrior on my team and a paladin on the enemy team to balance it out for the tank compositions, I'm honestly usually quite happy. Honestly, it's not F tier for only one reason: the Guardian ability to take damage for a team member, but that usually results in the paladin exploding instantly, which is kind of hilarious. Sorry, that's so bad. Reaper leaves me confused. I'm not even sure what it does, but I did notice that I lose more when it's on my team and win more when it's on the enemy team, but I'd be lying to you if I told you I knew what it did. It should scare me. I know I've tanked Reaper when it went in on me as White Mage and Sage. Poor little guy couldn't even manage to break through my barrier, so yeah, D tier. F tier, I've never lost a monk or a dancer outside of a highly tilted team compositions like it is a monk with a White Mage and a warrior and a Dragoon and a Samurai against my team that is literally like all DPS. I've found monk does have like crowd control of some nature, but I found it very easy to largely ignore. Maybe they're just not playing it at a good level, but I haven't seen a good monk. Now that's it for this video, and as always, play what you want to play in this game mode. Don't take it so serious. I've seen people who are even like using mods and I'm like, come on, like don't take it so serious. Just have fun, enjoy it, but this is the tier list as far as I've seen it and talking to others, but obviously as you could tell for things like the Red Mage and the Bard, hands down had more of my opinion impacted. As always, if this video helped you or you were entertained, please consider dropping a thick cat daddy on that like button and cat dadding that subscribe button. Take care everyone and be